Hi, this is Kevin Pawlak with Prince William County's Office of Historic Preservation. Thank you for tuning in for Part 5 of our 1862 Second Manassas Campaign video series. Today on August 28, 2021, we are commemorating the 159th anniversary of the Second Manassas Campaign, and more specifically, one of the battles of that campaign, the Battle of Thoroughfare Gap, which was fought over the ground where we are now. One of the landmarks that many people drive by when traveling on Interstate 66 is the historic Beverly Chapman Mill, which sits just a couple of hundred yards behind me in the distance. What you can also see behind me is Pond Mountain, one of the mountains that frames Thoroughfare Gap, where both I-66 and Route 55 pass through the gap in the Bull Run Mountains. This gap served as a crucial connecting point for Stonewall Jackson's command, which had been moved around John Pope's army to raid Manassas Junction and the Orange and Alexandria Railroad, and the other half of Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia under the command of James Longstreet. On his famous flank march to Bristow Station, Jackson's men had passed through Thoroughfare Gap a few days before this battle, and then soon enough James Longstreet's command would be following them. One of the Union Corps commanders in John Pope's Army of Virginia, Irvin McDowell, recognized the importance of sealing off this gap to prevent the unification of Longstreet's and Jackson's commands of the Army of Northern Virginia. And so in the morning of August 28th, McDowell dispatched one division under the command of James Rickets to reach Thoroughfare Gap here and plug the gap so that Longstreet's men could not join Jackson's men in the area of the old 1st Manassas or 1st Bull Run battlefield. However, in the early afternoon of August 28th, by the time Rickets' men arrived here, Longstreet's troops had already seized possession of the gap itself. Nonetheless, Rickets' men charged forward, specifically the brigade of John Stiles, into the gap. The 9th Georgia and the 13th Massachusetts Infantry fought right over this ground where we are posted. Eventually, the 13th Massachusetts men themselves were able to get to the mill buildings, and some of those soldiers used the first and second floors of the mill to fire out of and for cover during the action itself. However, Rickets' men were not able to stop Longstreet's troops enough. Longstreet's men were able to climb both Pond Mountain on the south side and Mother Leatherneck Mountain on the north side of Thoroughfare Gap, and Longstreet was also sending troops through Hopewell Gap, several miles to the north on the Bull Run Mountains, to get off both ends of Rickets' flanks, drive Rickets' division back, and ultimately Longstreet was successful in doing that. Rickets' command pulled back towards Bristow Station. That night, Confederate troops and Union troops engaged each other near the old 1st Manassas battlefield, just west of Groveton, in an engagement that's often known as the Battle of Broners Farm, and the way was cleared for the Army of Northern Virginia to be reunited. The two wings of that army would start to be reunited by late morning the next day, August 29th, and by that point, the Battle of Second Manassas, the climactic action of the Second Manassas Campaign, was fully underway. Please continue to follow our social media, especially our Facebook and YouTube channels, as we continue this multiple-part series commemorating the 159th anniversary of the Second Manassas Campaign.